The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And AJ Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as always, is AJ Applegarth, my co-host. What's going on, man?
I am doing fine. Glad to be here again.
It's all right. I got a little distracted. My daughter just came downstairs to say something to me, so it's all good. We're ready to rock and roll, guys. So we are here tonight. We got a fun surprise for everybody who's listening. I've been tweeting about it a bunch since yesterday. So for those of you who are here waiting for the jersey giveaway that is behind AJ's left shoulder, we are giving away a signed Devontae Adams jersey shortly. Not quite yet, but it will be ready soon. But subscribe, follow us wherever you listen: YouTube, Periscope, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. Right now, we've got the Eagles and Giants on. The Eagles are up 10-7, about a few minutes into the second quarter, so we'll let you know a little bit there.
Ooh. Wow.
Bye-week teams. We've got Ravens, Colts, Vikings, and Dolphins on. We may have a couple more because the Raiders are screwing some stuff up big time. Thanks, offensive line. If the Raiders do play, good luck, Josh Jacobs and Derek Carr, because you're gonna get destroyed. Want to do some
Nothing
of the week?
like those practice squad O lines. I mean,
Yeah, dude, that's gonna be awful, man.
Gonna be great.
Whew.
Gonna be great.
Yeah, so let's do some beer of the week, man.
Indeed. I'm gonna crack this.
Beer.
All right, what you got tonight, AJ?
I am drinking a newly purchased 3 Sigma triple IPA from Equilibrium Brewery up in Middletown, New York. It was not a cheap one, so let me taste it and make sure that it's worth what I paid.
Yeah, you told me the price of that. Nothing I would ever buy. Just gonna warn you.
That's pretty damn good. Wow. Okay. All right. I think I'm
$9.50 a beer, or whatever it ends up being.
Okay, close to that. after alcohol tax and whatever, COVID tax and mask tax,
we just make it
spray tan tax. Yeah, I think $9.50 sounds about right. Yeah, that was good.
All good. So I am drinking. I've had this in my fridge for a few weeks. It is an Other Half all green IPA, the triple IPA, 10.5%, just like yours. It did not cost quite as much as yours, but it is also equally as tasty, I'm sure, because it's Other Half and their stuff is amazing. So I gave it a 4.25 on tap. So it's definitely up there. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy. This one's definitely getting at least a 3.5. May bump it up a little bit later after
3.5.
Sorry, 4.5.
I was gonna say, holy cow.
Yeah. This one's definitely at like a 2.7.
That was kind of average.
Man, I'm already toasted. Okay, good times.
All right, so advice column this week. No guests this week. You get stuck with AJ and I. Sorry.
And a jersey giveaway.
I know. So anyway, advice column this week is, the NFL trade deadline is coming up, is how to handle your players that get traded in the actual NFL that are on your fantasy teams. Feel free to disagree with me, AJ, but I think more often than not, when a player gets traded in the middle of the season, it's never a good thing for their value, for the most part, right? Usually, they might be on a bad team, but they're getting a lot of playing time. They're getting a lot of volume. They're going to go to a team that is a contender And more often than not, they don't see the volume. They're either like splitting time with another running back, or for receivers, right? We saw it with Golden Tate a few years ago when he got traded midseason. Literally couldn't learn the playbook, couldn't get on sync with Daniel Jones, couldn't nothing. Like, it was awful. I don't know if we're gonna get Golden Tate bad, trade value back in return, but like, I feel like when those trades happen, there's so much buzz about those players. Sell. Especially in redraft. Dynasty, it's a totally different story. You can go on and on and on about Dynasty. Can't get into that because that depends on the player and the team he goes to and the guy that may be in front of him if he gets a contract for next year. That's a totally different story. I'm talking pure redraft. I say it's pretty rare that I wouldn't try to sell the player that got traded. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And Tate's a great example, and it's been multiple seasons in a row too. If you think about it, I mean, he came to the Eagles,
right,
and he had a couple of really good plays. I feel like not even games. I feel like it was more plays that he really was beneficial. But then he goes to the Giants, and it's the same deal. Like, he's just not really picked up enough steam yet. And they have their own offensive problems in general, as we can see tonight. Both teams really. But I think I would be more on board with launching these guys, and it really depends on. It depends on who it is, especially in redraft. I'm all for it because what do you have to lose? If anything, okay, the guy may still blow up and be productive, but if you're trading on name value, you should be getting back players that are going to help you regardless. So I'm definitely okay with it there. And even in a dynasty, I don't hate it. I want to, it's different for dynasty. Obviously, you have to figure out where you are with your team. Are you in win now mode, or are you just in sit and wait mode? And if you're in sit and wait mode, then you're fine. You can go after these guys,
right?
If someone's out there trying to sell them. So I think I'm good with it.
Yeah. So I don't think there's a whole lot more to talk about there. But I did want to just kind of piggyback on this and kind of get into our normal weekly topics and start with guys who are, being rumored to be shopped. And a few of them are surprising. Let's start with a not so surprising one, and that's AJ Green. I mean, look, I think the writing's on the wall in Cincinnati. Like, he's come out and said he doesn't want to get traded, but like, I just don't see how he doesn't get traded at this point. Like, Higgins, it basically has passed him already. Like, it's done. Like, Higgins has passed him in everything. Boyd is there too. So like, it's not working for him. And he needs to go to find any sort of value. I feel like, to I don't know what the right word I'm trying to say here is. I'm trying to like share stuff on,
like, rebrand himself, really.
Just rejuvenate his late career here. I think that's what I was trying to say. So it's just tough for him. Like, I don't really know where like potential landing spots for him could be. Like, I don't know who's like wide receiver desperate enough to try to take on AJ Green, who could, thinks they're competitive. Sorry, Jeff. Maybe the Bears might be, right? I mean, he's pointing to himself. So yeah, I mean, maybe they take a stab at him because their second receiver is not good. I mean, potentially there. I mean, like, what kind of value do we think he could have at all? If he gets traded.
It depends on if he's coming with cash considerations or a couple rolls of duct tape. I would rather have the duct tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to bash a guy with my own name. And I've liked Green, throughout his career. I just wish that he could stay healthy enough to stay on the field and be productive like he has been in the past. Mm-hmm. I don't know who would really want to be going after him though. And he's going to be traded, or should in theory be traded, because Cincinnati's not necessarily going anywhere this year. I mean, what's he going to do for them? Not much. He wants to compete. He wants to play and win.
Of course.
Who doesn't? But
right. And I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I think the Bears could make some sense. I mean, honestly, the Eagles potentially could make sense. I don't know if they're necessarily going anywhere, even though they're really in the thick of this piss-ass division.
That's not saying much, man.
Yeah, no, it's not. But yeah, I think Green's a tough one.
I stayed away from Green this year, and I'm so happy I did. I mean, I took other grenades, unfortunately, but Green wasn't one of them. So I don't know. I'm not feeling like there's going to be a Green resurrection anytime soon. So a couple of interesting ones that I read about, saw on Twitter. I don't really know where they're coming from, and I feel like they'd be super hard to move because of the contracts. But it's interesting, Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. I mean, obviously Atlanta has been atrocious this season. They won last week finally, but they've been bad. I mean, maybe Falcons to say, we're going to tear it down and start over. But I mean, they did finally fire the coach. So, I mean, any chance you think that these guys, what's the percent chance that you think these guys get traded? I think it's really low.
I would say less than 10.
Yeah, I'm thinking in the single digits easily. So
yeah, I mean more so for Ryan than for Julio.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what a team that needs a QB who's taking Matt Ryan, who's trading for Matt Ryan, right? I mean, unless your starter gets hurt, in the next week or so, if your starter gets hurt, maybe. But that's an expensive rental.
That's a very expensive rental.
So Julio, on the other hand, we obviously saw last week how good he still can be when he's healthy and he's on. So I feel like if he's really on the block, if somebody wants to give something of significant value for him, that it's worth it. Again, it's the same kind of wide receiver needy teams that would need AJ Green, but you're going to have to give up a lot to get Julio and take on that contract, I'm assuming. But I'm sure they'll work out something where some of the contract isn't, paid by the team that gets him, but still, that's a lot. I feel like that's a really low chance, but I wanted to throw those out there just to kind of throw it out there. One that hits home for you, man, Zack Ertz. I've heard this a lot. This a lot this year. And the way he's played this year, even when he was on the field, not good. Goddard.
Yes.
Goddard
no.
Definitely playing better than him. I mean, let's be real.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say it's definitely not all on Ertz.
It's not.
It definitely a lot of blown throws by Wentz going his way.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's just because of all the injuries that they've dealt with in the receiving core and coupled with all the shitty production out of the receivers that have been there, healthy or not. They got Deshaun back tonight. Alshon, I think, is still out again. So I don't know what really much he's going to bring.
I heard his name right before the show that he was a candidate, but I'm like, who's buying Alshon at this point? The guy can't even get on the field. Come on. What do they want a compensatory pick for him? Jeez. It's so bad.
Just give me cash and some duct tape.
Him away from us.
Or I'll give you duct tape with him. And some extra Band-Aids. You're not going to get anything for him at this point. I mean, maybe before the season when they were talking about it, but then he can't stay healthy, and it's really the case with all of these guys not named Matt Ryan. that we've talked about so far. Well, Ertz hasn't really been a health issue, so to speak. But dude, he's just looked bad for a lot of the plays, and because of all the injuries around him, everybody's just keying in right on Ertz because they know that him and Wentz had a great, rapport, great connection.
Absolutely.
But I definitely think that that's kind of moved on to Goddard. He's younger and I can't say better. I think they're both very talented. I would hate to see Ertz go, but at the same time, he's not doing a lot for us right now. Mm-hmm. So Goddard's potentially going to be back around week 10, I believe. So they come off their bye. It would be interesting to see what happens. So
yeah. Last name here, though, I want to move on because I know people are tuning in for the jersey giveaway here, so I don't want to make everybody wait too long. Last name here is David Njoku, and this is one that I think is pretty interesting. Like, I think he's got a lot of talent. I just think he's in a really bad situation there. Obviously, they brought in Hooper. The Cleveland Browns offense is very hit or miss. I think Njoku could legit be like one player that could go to a team and actually improve his value this year. Like if Njoku got traded, I think I would actually potentially buy in on Njoku.
He's the type of guy in a dynasty that I'd be all over.
Yeah,
if he gets into
not even just that, I think just redraft. I like
good
him.
Situation.
It has to be obviously the right situation.
But if he's going to go somewhere, and he's been wanting to be traded for a while now too.
Yeah.
Well, what's up, Dan Arnold?
Arizona
Sleeper, still asleep. Dan Arnold getting 0 points. Kenyon Drake, meanwhile, getting 28, and I lose a matchup in the Hunger Bowl because of the touchdown. If he would have just pulled the Brian Westbrook,
I know a lot
slid down on the one, but no. Anyway, I digress. So,
all right, let's move on to our next topic here, and it is bad quarterback play in Week 6. Got to start with Aaron Rodgers, man. Everybody thought this game was going to be a complete shootout. Really, both quarterbacks didn't put up the points we were hoping, but Aaron Rodgers was like epically bad for Aaron Rodgers. And if you play at Scott Fishbowl, he was -14, by the way. What the hell happened?
Joe Flacco did better at -12.
162 interceptions and 4 sacks. Yes, that's right. No touchdowns. I don't even know.
That game was ugly, man. It was
so
just not good for Green Bay.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming at all.
My wireless keyboard has died, by the way, so I'm like moving forward to type because I know I'm having to move my. So if you see me moving weird, it is what
I don't know what. I saw something popping up. I'm like, well, all right, what? Are you closing a lot? I don't know. Whatever.
What the hell? I can't repeat that.
Sure you can. Something about I don't know. It was a big Dick Nick reference, probably somewhere along the lines there. Anyway, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain this game by Rodgers unless he's just still planning a new commercial with the dude from the State Farm commercials.
Jake from State Farm, who changed, by the way.
Yeah. Jake
I was like, wait, that's not
State
Jake
Farm
from
is
State
now
Farm.
thick. Like what? Who? Where did you can't even fit in khakis, bro? Your quads are like Saquon on roids. Just calm it down there, Jake.
Yeah,
khakis. Anyway,
kind of bothers me. The guy, like, this guy's not even funny. He's just like he's trying to be too cool. You're like, nah, you're not. That's not Jake from State Farm. Anyway, all right, AJ, I will let you take it away from here, man.
All right. Well, this is week 1 of our jersey giveaways. The autographed plethora of digs that I got on Pristine Auction. Shout out to them for having stellar stuff and giving me a new hobby during COVID of spending money that I was probably trying to save for something other than that. But whatever. We're in this business to be philanthropic, and Scott Fish brings a lot of that out as well. So just want to do our part here a little bit, and whatever. Bought them, give them away, have fun with it. So obviously the jersey is Mr. Davante Adams. If I can figure out robot arm over here. Adams had almost as bad a game as Rodgers, probably because Rodgers was the one throwing him the ball.
Probably.
Probably.
Not absolutely, just probably.
Probably. 6 receptions, 10 targets, 61 yards. And as you mentioned, 0 touchdowns. So, for the listeners and the jersey, Davante Adams has only faced Tampa Bay in 2 other seasons in his career, 2014 and 2017. Ironically, in both of those matchups, Adams also combined for 6 receptions on 10 targets and 0 touchdowns. So the question for the jersey is, what was his combined receiving yardage in those 2 games? As in, was it greater than or less than last week's total, again, of 61 yards? And by how much lower or higher was the total? So,
all right. So just to reiterate that, it was
in the combined receiving yardage in 2014 and 2017 for Davante Adams against Tampa Bay. Was it higher or lower than 61 yards, and by how many yards?
Do you want to just help out and give the years so people don't have to research forever?
I've said the years.
Did you? Sorry.
3 times now. 2014 and 2017.
I'm like half listening. My computer's freaking out right now. It's just being stupid.
I thought your keyboard was the one that
it is. I think the whole
headphones.
computer, like not my headphones, like my mouth, like I don't know, like everything's freaking out on me. This USB hub thing's not working as well.
Okay, don't at me, at Joe.
Yeah, so I've put the links, by the way, in the chat to the tweet you should respond to. So hopefully all the responses go there. I would try my best to get all of them. First 10 to respond with the correct answer will get entered into a 100-yard rush
video
or whatever. Competition. Thank you, Jeff, producer. So if you don't know 100-yard rush, it's a website where you just put in names and it will just randomize like people running a 100-yard dash and whoever gets first. So whoever gets first, I will reach out to you via Twitter. You must be following me because I'm going to DM you. That's a key thing for your address, and then AJ will get it and mail it to you. It is that jersey you see right behind his head. We promise you it is signed. There's pictures on my Twitter with like the authentication sticker and everything. It is legit. So go ahead and respond to me there, and hopefully we get some good responses, and good luck to everybody. So let's move on with the rest of the show, though.
All right.
So other bad quarterbacks. We just got done with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't know. So real quick, are you worried about Aaron Rodgers moving forward? I'm kind of not. I mean, he's like just
Tampa's still a very good defense. So
yeah. I mean, I will say this though: the defenses he's played early on were bad. Minnesota, Detroit, New Orleans, and Atlanta. So maybe there's something to it. I mean, I think Tampa is like top notch this year. So maybe he won't have this bad of a game. But it is worrisome.
Something to keep an eye on.
I think he's still fine. I'm still okay with it. So, yeah, Jeff's telling us Tampa's #1 DVOA defense. So, I mean, obviously legit. but I still think Rodgers will be okay in the end. By the way, Fulgham just pulling down catches, man. This guy out of nowhere. Baker Mayfield, another one. I don't know, man. Week 1 was awful. Week 2 and 5 were 2 through 5 were decent and too good, and to where people started having a little more faith in him. And then last week happened. Who is he? Is he last week in week 1, or is he week 2 through 5? With 2 through 5 a smokescreen? Like I don't know what to think about him at this point.
I'm interested in this love scene that he was talking about with his book club in the commercial that got Amy kicked out of book club. I mean, she bailed again, so she had it coming. She had to know that Baker wasn't going to mess around this long. Anyway, I don't know
I'm lost.
what the hell to do with Baker. Was it on Slack that we had the little picture, the rotating of plays bad, gets beat on by media, retaliates with good game against mediocre opponent or something. I don't know. Or maybe it was a tweet, or maybe I'm just dreaming and I don't know what's going on. Also possible. So yeah, I mean, let's just get back to that book club thing. I mean, that's more interesting to me right now than his play in fantasy.
I'm going to pass, and we're going to move on to Matthew Stafford. 19 for 31, 223, and a touchdown and a pick. Like, let's be honest, it really hasn't been good for Stafford all year. Touchdowns are at least sort of saving his season to where he's not just completely awful. But I want to ask you, where has the efficiency gone for him? I mean, we've gotten used to Matthew Stafford being somewhere in the 65% completion range. He's hovering around 60. And he's had plenty of weeks where he's not even there. I mean, this was a reason why I liked him in Scott Fishbowl this year. Yeah. You did too, because obviously completions and incompletions were part of the point scoring there. And he had a negative week for you and me 1 week, I believe. It wasn't a lot, but it was still negative, or it was very close to negative. It was like
I don't know
super low if it wasn't.
Did go he was close, but I don't know if he did go full negative. But yeah, man, he's not looked good at all. I don't know if it's, not having Galladay there for a couple of weeks just totally threw him off. I mean, Marvin Jones hasn't really been all that, great for him this year either. I mean, he's been almost more reliable than Galladay. Galladay's just a stud. But Jones was kind of that safety net for him, I feel like.
Jones is killing us, dude.
And he is absolutely destroying me.
He was always bad with consistency, but he hasn't even had like the one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad game. This has all been bad games. And you're like, what's going on?
All bad.
Fuck him.
And again, like I said, if I would have played Brian Hill and his 4 or 5 points over Marvin Jones's 1.8, I would have won in Scottfish. So I think that there's something going on in Detroit. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's 100% all on Stafford, if just the game plan week to week is not good, not good enough for them to be everybody on the same page. I mean, you look at the coach and it's like, all right, well, what are we doing here? Are you like just pulling shit from your Belichick days where we're going to practice playbook 1A this week, but we're going to use playbook 2C in the game and not have any idea what's going on? I don't know, but I'm really hoping it comes back, because I think if he can get back on the same page with Jones and Galladay, I think him and Galladay are back okay, but that's all he has, and the running game is still.
Yeah, we'll get to that running game a little later. I want to ask you about that. Actually, screw it. Let's just ask that now.
Dang.
The running game. We saw Swift kind of break out last week. What is it DeAndre Swift's time? I mean, he still only saw like a third of the carries and a third of the snaps to AP, and carry on still sort of somewhere around, like, he's just sort of a ghost, like, hey guys, I'm here. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I don't understand NFL head coaches when they see a performance like that, and obviously they know Swift has talent, or they wouldn't have drafted him where they did, and they're still going, oh no, we're gonna give this 36-year-old running back or whatever AP is, who's still fine, he's still talented, but I think he is to me the guy who comes in behind Swift. To me, I don't understand why coaches go, oh no, AP is going to be first. Swift, you come in and spell AP. Like, but does last week change things for you? Like, do you think this is finally the time where they just go, no, Swift, here, it's all you. Go, bye.
I think they should. Yeah.
That's obviously what I'm thinking. But
again, it's the Belichick way, dropping down to Patricia with, hey, I have a pretty talented stable of running backs here. I'm just going to bounce them all. But I just it's different there. I mean, you have 3 different running backs all together. And like, at least in New England, all of those guys kind of complement each other in multiple ways, I feel like. So it works better there. And not that Detroit doesn't complement each other, but they're just different styles. I don't know. I think they're all starter material backs. AP's kind of on the downslide, obviously. Carry-on is maybe on the upside because he really hasn't played. No, Carry-on's nothing done. If you've realized, he's just there. He
needs to go to another team at this point.
Yeah. I think that they need to get Swift more involved, and just not. I mean, if you like AP that much and you're that confident that he's going to be your guy, give him more of a break. He is older. He's been beat to hell throughout his Hall of Fame worthy career. Mm-hmm. I think that he's earned it. And let the rookie go out there and show what he can do. And if he takes it over, then AP can be more of a mentor and help him along the way, as he should.
We've seen how that has worked out before in New Orleans. He does nothing to do with that. But
but
I mean, AP still thinks he's the back from like 2008. This is not working for that. Like, it's not happening. But you're still talented. I get it, but you're not that guy. But I don't know.
You're not as talented.
I really wish he would unleash Swift. I would really love to see what he could do. I mean, look, you don't have to give him, workhorse type of touches, but I would love to see what he could do with like 65%. That in today's game, that's phenomenal. So I would just love to see it. But let's move on here to the next quarterback. And the last one I want to talk about, and there's a little more involved with this one, which is why I left it for last, is Andy Dalton. I don't think anybody expected anything great from Andy Dalton, but I think we expected a lot better than what we got. And at the end of the day, it wasn't terrible for fantasy because, threw a lot of passes, ended up getting a bunch of yards, ended up getting a touchdown. But 34 for 54, 256, a touch, 2 picks, and 3 sacks. But let's be honest, if anybody watched that game, they know how bad Andy Dalton was early. And granted, it wasn't all his fault. Zeke fumbled twice.
Yeah.
There was one pick that definitely was not his fault, and it should have been called pass interference. Now, there was another one early that thankfully just wasn't a pick. So he kind of balanced out there. I mean, look, I'm not really worried about talking about Dalton here as much as because I don't think a lot of people are talking about picking up Andy Dalton unless you're in a two QB league. Sorry, Jeff. But I mean, how worried are we about the Cowboys' weapons now? And Zeke maybe even like a different worry with the fumbles. Like I didn't realize how bad it was with him until that game. But let's just talk about the receivers, Gallup, Lamb, and Cooper, and then Schultz at the same time.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about him. I mean, as soon as Dak went down, that was immediate worry setting in. And then Gallup decided to randomly show up and be the safety net for Dalton at the end of that game.
But he was nowhere to be found last week, unfortunately.
No, and that gave me hope for last week. Like, oh, okay, well, all right, maybe these guys have a bit of a thing going on here, nice rapport. So let's build on that. Let me start Gallup. Oh, that was dumb. Amari, I think, is going to be okay. He's still going to get his targets and everything, but I mean, I'm not a big Amari fan. I know you're not either, so I don't really care if he's going to get his targets because I don't like him. But I'm definitely worried about Lamb. And I just think that Dalton...
Down the field guy. So, yeah, and Dalton doesn't do that anymore.
That this O-line sucks.
Well, and so that's the next thing I was going to bring up, right? And so glad you said it, is that the O-line has had big issues. And then, of course... see Zach Martin go out during that game. That's a concussion, so he's coming back. We don't, maybe not this week, but probably next week. So that'll help huge. But I mean, the offensive line is not good. And in fact, MP, I don't know who you are on YouTube, but you said give Andy some time, and I believe in him. Our offensive line needs to build chemistry. I mean, fine, I get it, but at the same time, like if the offensive line isn't talented, it's not talented. I mean. So look at Philly. Of all teams with offensive line problems, like and that's been a problem for Philly for 2 years.
That brings me to this question that I just dawned on me. So everyone talks about the quarterback being the most important player on the field. Individual player, I agree.
Yes, individual, I agree. I know where you're going,
but the quarterback depends on the O-line group. The running back depends on the O-line group. And really the receivers do because the quarterback does. So taking out the individual versus group aspect, which do you think is actually more important? The chicken or the egg?
Yeah, I knew where you were going with this. And I've sort of... Look, quarterback's where you had to address first. I think a good quarterback can make, we've seen Brady with some pretty bad offensive lines figured out.
Yeah.
He's smart. Quarterbacks are good. So quarterback, I think, is still number one. But you have to have at least a competent offensive line. And then if you have a really good offensive line, it can make everybody better. Even average quarterback.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to say. It'll make your average quarterback that much better. And to me, Andy Dalton, where he is in his career,
average.
He's an average quarterback.
He's been average.
I don't know if he's ever gotten really above that, but
I agree, man. It's rough.
He's in the NFL for a reason. He's talented enough to be there, and he's shown that he can play at that level. But he's always had shit offensive line.
Yes.
And now it's just the same thing.
It's the same thing,
again.
Unfortunately.
So I'm very worried about these weapons.
So let's finish this up. Let's finish this talk up about Dalton. So Cooper trying to dump, trade, whatever. Right? Nobody's dropping these guys, but we trying to trade for anything at this point. Are you keeping him? Hoping? Is there still hope for Cooper?
If I'm a Cooper guy, then I would hold him and hope for a couple of good games and then maybe flip him at my league's trade deadline to see what happens. Because that, he's stuck with Dalton the rest of this year unless they trade for somebody else.
Yeah.
But
I've heard they're gonna go to Winston too, which is funny. I'm like, I mean, hey, for fantasy, I'd be all for it.
I mean, they
it's
throw
not
the ball
same,
54 times a game. I mean, that's right up Winston's alley.
But it won't be the same offense. So everybody who's thinking Winston's going to come in and do what he did last year with Tampa, no, it's not the same offense. No. It's not going to work that way. They're a ball control offense. They want to go through Zeke and then throw off of that. Yep. But of course, their defense doesn't allow them to do that either. So, all right. So Cooper, you're still sort of on board.
Cooper, I'm kind of holding on to for now. Gallup, I'm cutting bait. Possibly dropping Lamb. Yeah.
I think I'm holding on to Lamb still too. I think
I would hold Lamb. I mean, he's clearly overtaken Gallup.
You can't drop Zeke because the running backs, right? You can't drop Zeke, and you
trade the hell out of Zeke all day long.
I don't think I'm trading him now. I think I'm waiting for that one massive game from Zeke, and then
exactly. Same thing with Cooper. I mean, if they have a blow up game, and then it's like, all right, I find somebody with a need at one of those positions, and I can get somebody back. Like, shit. I mean, if you could flip Zeke and get an underachieving Mixon and a good receiver in return or something, I think I'd be okay with that. I mean, I still am believing in Mixon. I don't know why. Maybe it's the triple IPA, but he's better than what we've seen. Better than what we've seen. Yeah, I didn't even. Well, I opened a first one to start the game, and then we started potting, and I finished that. I'll probably have to turn around and grab one out of the fridge. Anyway, all right. So let's move into my friend and yours, the Beard.
Yeah, man.
He's benched for Tua. We knew it was coming for the most part, but why are they doing this now? The Dolphins are 3-3. Okay, whatever. They're better than everybody in this NFC worst division. So what the hell? They've won 2 straight.
They're 3-3. I mean, they're competitive.
Fitz has been good, dude. He's always been a solid quarterback. Sure, he throws a ton of interceptions here and there at inopportune times. Maybe they cost him the game. Maybe he pulls it out.
Not at Winston's level, though.
He's probably again 500 on those games and stats happening. But I mean, I will give it to him. He's been exactly what I expected him to be with this change. You know, he's been very gracious, I feel like. He's been very open about it. He's out. I don't want to say outspoken. He's been very vocal about it. But you know, he talks about wanting to give back, and this is his way of being able to do it. And he had great mentors throughout his career. He talked very highly of Carson Palmer. And that's what I expect out of this guy. And I'm not surprised to see that. I'm way more surprised that the Dolphins are just, you know, handing it over at this point. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking the Dolphins front office definitely went, hey, we saw the crowd, what there was of a crowd in Miami, which is probably way too many. Not gonna get into that.
Florida man is a thing,
right? So anyway, you know, he probably saw Tua come into the game with like a minute and a half last week, and the crowd erupted. And rightfully they should. I mean, like, that's their future, and they know that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be their current though. And MP on YouTube is totally in agreement with me here. He said it before I could. He said, I like Tua, but I'd rather have him benched for now. No reason for him to start. 100%. There's literally no reason. This is we still want to suck for another year or so and get better picks. And Fitz is actually making us better, so we need to stop this. And the crowd loves it, so maybe we'll sell some more tickets or some more jerseys. Whatever.
We'll max
right?
out at 7,000 next week, bitches.
Well,
Boom.
hey, if it were, the Florida governor sitting there saying they could max out at 65,000, so eat it.
It
Anyway.
sounds like the university.
I mean, like, so
coach.
the impact on like Tua coming in though, like I think has a massive impact on guys like Devontae Parker and Preston Williams and Gesicki and Gaskins. Like, I just like we've seen rookies come in and perform really well, and I love Tua and I love his value, or his potential, not value, potential, but I didn't see it happening this year. And when I did, I thought it was like when the Dolphins were going to be 2-8 and they were done. And it was just like, okay, who cares? 3-3 was not it. And I'm legit worried about every single one of these weapons that they have. Parker has been serviceable, not great, but serviceable. And we kind of knew that was coming. Williams is starting to come up again. Gaskins has been out of nowhere good.
Yeah.
Gesicki's, very inconsistent, but has had some massive weeks.
Great
I don't
0 last week.
that
was super helpful.
Yeah, obviously. Leo mentioned on YouTube about the Tua hip injury. Like we mentioned that because we had the injury guy on during the draft and stuff, and that's not really an issue anymore. Obviously, he's past that. People wouldn't have drafted him where they did. The NFL Dolphins wouldn't have drafted him where they did if they were concerned about that hip injury. If anything, it's more of those ankles, man. Those ankles, like he's going to have problems with those ankles getting re-sprained, whatever forever. And those could linger and potentially cut his career short. More than that hip, it's healed, it's fine. But yeah, it's a shame for the Dolphins. Like maybe Tua will surprise me, but I don't like to bank on rookies. So,
well, I think another thing to look at real quick. One last nugget on this, and then we can move into the injuries. But you look at what's happened around the league too with this year. I mean, it's been an effed up year to begin with,
of course.
But I mean, I feel like we do see the rookies come in and they have some ups and downs and learning curves and all of that. But this year, I mean, you've seen Burrow have really good games and some really rookie-esque games. You've seen Herbert come in and play really good. So I don't know if maybe that's kind of weighing into this for Miami. Maybe Adam Gase is like still tweaking with them and he's trying to get back in with them because he knows he's probably got borrowed time right now in New York. So he wants to go back to Miami and really F things up there again. I don't know. But I'm pulling for Tua. I love Fitz. And, like I said, he's been nothing but a consummate professional about this whole thing, and I'm not surprised by that one bit because of who he is and what he's done. But I still think he deserves a chance to play. I mean,
I'll miss seeing the beard on Sundays. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
it's always a fun sight to see the beard just like spewing out of the helmet. All right, let's get to some injuries here. Let's rock and roll through these. So obviously we know, maybe not obviously for some people, but Christian McCaffrey is not going to return this week. There was speculation that he was going to, but he's going to be at least out this week, if not a little bit longer. So you Mike Davis owners are sitting pretty there for another week or so. QBs, Baker Mayfield, ribs, questionable. He played through it last week, got rocked a few times. So I don't know. We're not sure yet, but my guess is he would play. Darnold, shoulder, questionable. I'm going on the more doubtful side there. Running backs, Mike Davis. I just said Mike Davis. I didn't check on the update today, unfortunately, but he had an undisclosed injury. He was questionable. This was yesterday. So, check on it. Your Friday and Saturdays, make sure he gets up to practice time in. Melvin Gordon, illness, questionable. He is practicing, but you always have to be leery of that suspension that's looming with the DUI case. It's coming, guys. Just it will be. Joe Mixon, he's got a foot injury, questionable. He didn't practice on Thursday, so be careful there. Sony Michel is on COVID IR still. 49ers here, we got Raheem Mostert, ankle, doubtful. He could land on the IR apparently, but it hasn't happened yet.
He is actually already ruled out as well.
Oh, is he? Okay, so he's definitely out.
That changed over.
They haven't put him on the IR yet, but I've heard rumors that
not IR not IR yet, but he is out for this week.
Okay, good to know. Thank you for that. Jeff Wilson, calf questionable, and then Tevin Coleman, he's still in the IR. So Raheem McKinnon is big, and then we got the Justin Hasty guy.
Yep.
Jermichael Hasty. Yeah. I don't even know his name because I didn't even know it.
Don't be hasty, Joe. Don't be hasty.
So I saw him carry the ball more times than McKinnon last week, and I was like, what the hell is happening? But I still think McKinnon is going to be the top guy there. Fournette, not that I'm going to say he's going to do anything, but he is practicing in full 2 days in a row now. So he looks like he might actually be active this week. Who knows if he'll actually play?
And I will probably bench him for Scott Fish, and he'll put up 20 points.
So
and
everybody else
go
start.
0-7.
Yes. All right, take over receivers, man.
All right, receivers. We got John Brown is questionable with a knee issue. We've got Brian Edwards dealing with an ankle. He's also questionable. Keenan Allen dealing with a back issue. He is questionable. They're saying it's back spasms, so he quote unquote should be fine. Take that for what it's worth. If you're an Allen owner, check him out on game day, see what's going on. Michael Thomas, ankle / discipline / douchebaggery, questionable. He now has a tweaked
hamstring.
So yeah, that sorry, I spelled douchebaggery wrong. I meant hammy. Deontay Johnson has a back issue as well. He was questionable earlier in the week, but he did practice Wednesday. Denzel Mims is questionable. He's expected to return off the IR, still dealing with some hamstring issues there. Julio, from what I saw earlier, he was questionable, but he did return to practice today, which is good news. So keep an eye on him. My guess is that he plays. I hope he doesn't just go like on off, every other week because of whatever.
Right.
So yeah, tight ends. Noah Fant questionable with an ankle, and Jonnu Smith is also questionable with an ankle. So that's our injury report.
Yeah, man. So let's get into finish off here with our week 7 picks. And we'll do our sleeper quarterback. Anybody outside the top 15? And I'll let you go first, man.
I'm going with Bridgewater. I like the matchup. Think it's a safe bet. If you're looking for someone, especially on a bye week where you got Lamar out, you've got you've got Phil Rivers out, you've got Cousins out, and Fitzua or Tits. I mean, they're both out. So yeah, I like Bridgewater.
All right, mine is going to be. I didn't really like a lot of the sleeper quarterbacks this week, so it's Andy Dalton. I mean, going against the Redskins, or I keep saying that, Washington football team. Sorry, they've allowed the 9th most points against quarterbacks, so maybe Dalton can pull a game out of his ass here and have a good one here. So maybe this is the week you still use those Dallas weapons. So
Yeah.
I'll just pick Dalton. Like I said, I didn't like a lot of the guys outside of the top 15, so I just scraped and picked Dalton.
Yeah. All right. So running backs, anybody outside of the top 24. I'm sticking with those Washington ref football teamers and going with McKissick. I mean, he seems to be getting a lot of the share of running, and Dallas sucks. So, why not take a flyer on, again, bye weeks, a killer this week. So I like McKissick.
Yeah, mine's going to be another interesting play, and it's Jamal Williams playing Houston, who has been pretty susceptible, on defense this year. We saw him get pretty involved a couple weeks ago, and then last week kind of dropped back off. But I think he's still involved enough in this offense that I think he could be, and especially like a flex type play, desperation almost kind of play, especially with all the bye weeks, and there's some good teams on bye week as I mentioned earlier. So I think he's a good sleeper pick here.
All right, receivers. Anybody outside of the top 36? I'm going with Christian Kirk. Like a huge game last week. Saved my ass in the crab cake league. I had him and Murray going up against somebody, and not a pretty healthy deficit. And I was just looking at it like, man, I need Murray to just throw straight to Kirk, because I was playing against Hopkins in another league. So I was like, I don't want him to do anything. I want Kirk to do everything. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, all right, there we go. So I like it. I think more of the same is coming, and Kirk's really stepped up and taken over the role.
Yeah, I do like that pick, and I would have done it had you not gotten to it first. But I'm going to pick Tim Patrick of the Denver Broncos. And, I mean, look, there's no denying the amount of targets this guy has gotten the last couple of weeks. Granted, if Fant comes back, that could change things. But I still think without Sutton, KJ Hamler's still banged up. Judy's not really making as much of an impact as people were hoping quite yet. Patrick's just he's just a good, solid receiver that they can rely on. And 7 and 8 targets the last 2 weeks. He's gone over 100 yards both weeks, and he scored one of those. I mean, I'm all about it. I actually have to start him in one league. I started him last week in another league, and it's doing perfectly fine for me. So
yeah, he's been good. I've liked how
I liked him last year. I was surprised they stacked the receiver position as much as they did in the draft, knowing they had Tim Patrick there. Like, I thought Tim Patrick was super underrated, even on their own team, and he's proving them wrong when he's given the chance. So, yeah. John, all right, what you doing?
Shoot into the busts here. Quarterback is anybody within the top 12. I went ahead and went with Watson. I mean, it was close between him and A-Rod for me, but I went Watson. I think Green Bay is going to come out a totally different team this week, and Houston could be in some trouble. So I just don't have a good feeling about Watson this week.
Yeah, that was absolutely got to be my pick. But I went with another one, and it's Cam Newton. We saw how bad he was last week, and we kind of saw this coming. I mean, he relied so much on his legs to carry his fantasy value the first few weeks that he actually played. And if he doesn't get to do that again, like, he's just atrocious, in my opinion. So the Patriots are going to struggle. They don't have a ton of talent on offense around him. And if he can't rush for 45 yards on a touchdown, then whatever, or 2 touchdowns even. So I just don't like him at all, really. And it's hard to predict. That is really what the problem is. So
exactly. If it happens, great. But
yeah, fantastic. Good for you.
You're not starting him knowing it's going to happen.
But people were starting to do that, and I mean,
well, they were, yeah. I don't
it.
blame them because shit. It's like, oh, all right. No, not anymore.
No,
so
not gonna happen. So
running backs, we've got within the top 20. I mean, I probably took the most obvious one based on last week and what we already talked about. I'm going with Zeke. Easy choice for me. I mean, if Dalton is still going to be as bad as he was, and again, it wasn't overall terrible at the end of the game, but it wasn't great either. So unless he gets a really big turnaround to free up Zeke, I think people are just going to cue in on Zeke, and I would not be surprised to see him fumble again this week. Washington's front seven is tough. So see ya.
yeah, it could be an interesting one. Like we mentioned before, the O-line is bad. So, I'm going to go with the bus right inside the top 20, and it's DeAndre Swift. I feel like we said before, people really want this guy to be good. And this is where I said I was going to talk about this later, but I just feel like we would talk about it, really get into it then, and then because usually we're pressed for time here, I'll just go through it now really quick. But people really want this guy to be good. So I feel like the one chance they had to put him inside the top 20, they did. And I have him just outside, so it's not like I'm totally off of on him, but I'm still kind of like waiting to see what Patricia does. And I don't have a lot of faith in Patricia to really do what he should do because he hasn't shown that yet. So let's move on to receivers here.
All right. It pains me to say it, but I'm going with Bobby Trees. Howard Woods, man.
You better be wrong.
I know I better be wrong because I
better
own
be wrong.
too many damn leagues, and I hope I am, but
The Bears.
The Bears are good, man.
They are.
They're
I know.
good
I feel
against
it.
receivers. I almost wrote him and Cup because why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope I'm wrong, but that's who I had to go with.
Yeah, mine's Mike Evans. And look, I get it. His fantasy points this year have been pretty decent, but they're all touchdowns. Like the volume's not there. The receptions aren't there. The yards aren't there. And we saw what happened last week. He didn't catch a touchdown, and it was terrible. So, like, there's obviously something wrong. And, ankle, big reason why, obviously. But maybe there's something else going on. Maybe he's not on the same page with Brady. There's something going on there, and I've actually gotten a few trade questions involving Evans, and they're getting technically a lesser receiver back, but I've been it's close enough that I'm okay with it in at least a redraft league. Like the other guy you're getting is performing right now and getting more targets, getting more receptions, and is more consistent than Evans looks like he's gonna be. You watch. As soon as I say this, Evans is gonna get healthy and go off for these these tear of games that he does. But I just don't feel it with him right now. He just doesn't look there.
Yeah.
So he's still being ranked super high though because it's Mike Evans, and I get it. But I don't want to play him if I have another decent choice. I'm not playing him. So let's move over here to our tight end streamers. Like I said last week, we increased the ownership percentage to 50% or less. And AJ, you go first.
Going with the VT boy, Logan Thomas.
Nope.
Again, Dallas sucks. So I just think Thomas has been very serviceable for most of this year.
I saw that. Yes. Jeff just said, sometimes I
have
forget
not yet. I'm watching Reggie.
Daniel Jones
glory.
Literally had a rushing touchdown and tripped over his own feet 15 yards away. Awesome.
Oh, that's good.
Give it to Freeman because I actually had to start him this week in one league, and that's how sad some of my teams are. No, they give it to the second running back, Evan Ingram.
Daniel
Jeff was just
Jones.
talking about
Wow,
earlier.
look how
Oh,
open that
man.
field is for Daniel
That's so
Jones. Oh my God. I'm so tired.
So
You
yeah,
suck,
you're right. You're right. You're right on there.
jackass.
You're right on there, AJ, with Logan. I'm actually on the opposite side. I'm going Schultz for Dallas. I actually wrote Dallas Schultz. I meant to write Dalton Schultz,
Yeah,
Schultz,
like-
obviously.
Talking about Goddard, because
I swear I wasn't drinking before this
10 coming back.
podcast, but it felt like it is. Yeah. But anyway, Dalton Schultz. Look, we saw it. Like the volume is still there for Schultz. He was the guy I was actually semi worried about because I thought Dalton was gonna just pepper the targets to his talented receivers, but he didn't. He played it safe in what was Schultz and threw the ball to his running backs a bunch too. So the Washington football team is like one of the worst against tight ends. So fire up the Schultz big time. I've got him in my top 10 easy.
Yeah.
So defense, what you got?
Cleveland. That was it.
Yeah, we
That
may
was
have
the
to raise this percentage for defense. I don't know what to do with the defensive streamers. Like, there must be a ton of teams.
Which defense do you like this week? Any of them.
Um,
That's about where we're going to be for the next.
I mean,
couple of
really,
months.
like, I'll tell you, like, I own two defenses in a handful of leagues that I'm in because other people are. So like, there's no way to stream them anymore. And when you have somebody who's mediocre, or not mediocre, but you have an above average defense playing a really good team, you don't want to use them. You go to the waiver wire, you're stuck with like, oh wait, I can play the Redskins. Oh crap, no, I don't want to do that. I can play Dallas. Oh, I don't want to do that. I can play Cincy. Oh, I don't want to do that. So yeah, no, I just have to agree with AJ here. It's Cleveland. They're playing Cincy, although I like Burrow and I like all those. I like all those players this week against Cleveland. Their defense is terrible, but they're the best possible team because at least you're hoping that the rookie throws a pick here and there. So that's all we got. It's Cleveland. I'm sorry. There's just not a whole lot else under 50% owned.
You're shooting in the dark if you're in that position, just trying to figure out which team will score a touchdown randomly.
Yeah. Maybe guys
this
got good special teams, but special teams has not been good for anybody this year, it feels like. So, was that Gallman? I hate you, Gallman. Gallman scored and not Freeman. And I had to start Freeman this week in the league because bye week hell. So, bye week and injury hell, actually, is what it ended up having to be for me.
Gallman.
So, all right. We're going to close it out. I did get a bunch of responses from people on Twitter, so I will be taking the first 10. Got to go through the timestamps, and I'm pretty sure I liked a bunch of them. So I got them, I think, mostly in order. And
there will be no whatever. I know 100-yard rush does you can give. I don't even know what the hell the word is that I want. Like preferential treatment to teams or whatever. Like we're not doing any of that.
I'm not handicapping anybody. I'm literally just going to put the first 10
Thank you
people
for all the responses. We love it. Yep. Again, to plug it again, we have a Kenny Galladay signed jersey that we will be doing. Maybe next week.
Maybe the week after.
Not sure yet.
Stay tuned on Twitter. Follow me and AJ, and we'll be tweeting about it for sure. So, all right, man. That's it for the show. Good luck in week 7. And the Giants are up 14-10, right? So, all right. Good night, everyone.
Birds.